What about Carol Vorderman? Let's talk about her. That should liven up the room because Carol Vorderman, for a long time, I was actually asking the question. You know, she does a show on the BBC, albeit it's a Sunday morning. It's quite quiet. She plays music and asks people to tell her what their favourite biscuit is and that kind of thing. But she's been kicked out of the BBC because she has turned into this rabid kind of anti-Tory social media Twitterer, hasn't she?
She's very extreme, and I say that as someone who has been quite extreme.
Yeah, well, she makes you
government.
look like sort of, you know, somebody...
Timid.
Yeah, somebody who's quite timid and shy and retiring.
I mean, you wonder about Gary Lineker. Why her and not Lineker?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the question I think a lot of people were asking. That, you know, well, if they're now saying that your tweets actually do have to behave themselves and you can't go around just slagging off political parties. I mean, he's a bit more subtle about it, isn't he? But she just goes straight in with both feet.
Well, I'd feel very bad if I was Vorderman because, you know, Lineker had this big staff rebellion and everybody came out and said, how dare you, we'll all quit and you can't do that. Poor old Vorderman didn't have a sinner at BBC Wales coming out for her, it sounds like. So, you know, that's probably a knock to her ego. But, I mean, you know, I'm go to the wall for free speech. And, you know, I think it's very important. I think Carol Vorderman and the rest of them should be able to tweet what they like. But the BBC, if you sign up to a company like the BBC state broadcaster, which is supposed to have a journalistic sort of dedication to impartiality, you can't be mouthing off about the Tories no matter how rubbish they can be at times. You just can't do it. So.
I mean, because also she's been very personal, and particularly about Johnny Mercer and his wife. And his wife put out a tweet tonight saying, binned by the BBC with a little emoji of a bin. So that feud will no doubt go on. But I think, you know, I think people make the mistake about free speech that, you know, free speech doesn't mean you can say whatever you like and there are no consequences. It means you can say whatever you like if you want, but you might get fired or you might have to, you know, move jobs or you might have to be careful where you've said it or it might turn out that you've said something which breaches some law or other. And so I think she's kind of been a victim of her own, she's been hoisted by her own petard, really, isn't she?
Yeah, well, if she wants, I mean, she can't be short for cash. If she wants to carry on being the kind of... I mean, you could probably make more money off being a Twitter head commentator than you could in play...
I don't think they play a lot for Sunday morning on BBC Wales. I mean,
no, well, I mean, it sounds like that from her statement. That was a decision she'd made, I think, wasn't it? She'd weighed it up and thought, well...
She says, my decision has been to continue to criticise the current UK government for what it has done to the country, which I love, and I'm not prepared to stop.
I mean, to some extent, good on her for, you know, like, you know, I don't necessarily agree with her, but if she thinks that and she wants to be loud on Twitter and on social media, and it goes against BBC guidelines, then, you know, fair play to her.
My favourite tweet of her was a picture of her as the person on Countdown, and the words behind her spelled sacked, which I thought was quite funny. But there we are. You're watching the Independent Republic of Mike Graham.